The Tale of Shimcheong. Shimcheong, the blind man's daughter. Long ago in Korea, when magic was strong and dragons still roamed the earth, there lived a young girl named Shimcheong and her blind father. Shimcheong and her father loved each other very much, but were poor, as the blind man could not work for a living. One day, a monk came by and offered to cure the father's blindness for the price of 300 sacks of rice. Shimcheong's father rushed home to tell his daughter the good news, but was heartbroken when he realized they did not have enough money for the rice. He was deeply sad and bemoaned his suffering to his young daughter. But Shimcheong, being the loyal and kind girl she was, secretly promised to find a way to pay for the rice herself and thus cure her father's blindness and unhappiness. The next day, she overheard sailors discussing how the Dragon King, angry with merchant fleets, had sent foul weather and violent storms to sink the ships. The sailors needed a sacrifice to quell the Dragon King's rage in exchange for 300 sacks of rice. Shimcheong, devoted to her father, offered herself as the sacrifice. She brought the 300 sacks of rice to her father, but did not tell him where she was going. She only said to bring the rice to the monk and cure his blindness. Then she was off to the voyage. As she stood on the bow of the ship, the sky and the sea began to darken and churn ominously. What she did not know was that her father, who had gone to the monk, was left uncured and was now not only blind, but also without his one and only love, his daughter. When he found out that she had sacrificed herself for him, he lamented how he could have let such a thing happen and longed for his precious Shimcheong. Meanwhile, on the seas, violent storms began to tear at the ship, and the sailors prepared to sacrifice the brave Shimcheong. Dressed in regal finery, she said a prayer and dove into the cold, dark seas. Suddenly, the storm stopped and the sea was calm. But this is not the end of the story of brave Shimcheong. As she descended deep into the dark water, she saw a small light that grew brighter and bigger, and she found that she could breathe underwater. She floated gracefully to the bottom of the sea and could not believe her eyes. Before her stood the majestic palace of the Dragon King, who was waiting for her in front of the palace gates. She was applauded by all for her loyalty and bravery, and was welcomed by the grand underwater palace as royalty. She dwelled happily in the palace for a time, but soon she grew sad, longing for her father, for the sun, and for the world above the water. She would wander the palace at night, singing for the world she wished to see again. Think of the moon, think of the shooting stars, think of the home that once was ours. I still recall a shining sun, a sky, and instead of salmon there were birds that fly, and someone to love, someone who loved me in my memories. And though I'm here below, I hear you calling every night. Tell the world I'm on my way. I don't know when, but I know someday I'm coming home. I stood there once, and someday Dragon King, though he had come to love her as his own daughter, wanted Shimcheong to be happy. So they said their goodbyes, and he sent her above the sea, adorned in beautiful garments and wrapped inside a lotus flower. When the giant lotus flower floated to the surface, the sailors and townspeople were astounded. They brought the flower to the king, and suddenly, right in front of his eyes, the lotus opened to reveal Shimcheong. Inspired by her tales of bravery, he fell in love with her and asked for her hand in marriage. She was taken by his kind spirit and happily accepted. The wedding was to be held at once. The palace became a banquet hall dripping with the finest decorations and stuffed with celebratory foods. But the soon-to-be Queen Shimcheong made a strange request. At the wedding, she said, "I would like to invite all blind men in the kingdom to feast. That would make me very happy." She secretly hoped that she could see her father again, and the king honored her wishes. On the happy wedding day, everyone was merry, but Shimcheong gazed at the crowds, searching for her father. "He's not here," she whispered to herself. Suddenly, she heard ruckus at the palace gates. A blind man was being turned away for arriving too late. Shimcheong rushed to the gates, her heart pounding. "Let him in!" she cried. "That is my father!" The crowds shifted and watched as her father recognized his daughter's voice. "Could it be? Are you a ghost? Or is that my Shimcheong? Alive!" he muttered, bewildered. "Yes, father, it is me, Shimcheong," she cried, and at the sound of her voice, her father's eyes were opened. They filled with tears. The father and daughter embraced, weeping and crying for joy. The magical reunion stirred everyone's soul, and the whole kingdom erupted into a grand celebration. With her father's sight restored and herself now a queen, Shimcheong was finally at peace. Her honor was sung about by all the townspeople, the sea people, and even the dragons. And they say that on that day, all in the kingdom who were once blind had their vision restored by Queen Shimcheong's bravery, loyalty, and love.
Thanks for watching our story time. The tale of Shimcheong is originally a Korean folk tale that is told in the traditional storytelling art form of pansori, or Korean opera. In Korean, 소리 means sound, and pan refers to the open spaces where people used to gather and watch these performances. Here it is in Korean and in English. Say it with me. pansori. Very good. pansori is a type of musical storytelling that involves a singer and a 북, or drum. The singer, along with the song, will perform dramatic gestures with fan in hand and will be wearing a hanbok, or traditional Korean dress, the same type of traditional Korean dress that you saw Shimcheong wearing in our story today. In our story time, we adapted or changed the story a little bit and presented it in our own styles of storytelling. Our artist Peach told the story through visual art. Our composer Julia told the story through original music. And I told the story through narrative drama. Now it's your time to tell the story. Let's sing the song that we heard today together. Feel free to follow along. Think of the moon, think of the shooting stars, think of the home that once was ours. still recall a shining sun, a sky, and instead of salmon there were birds that fly, and someone to love, someone who loved me in my memory.